Hello, this is Bible Academy for Children. I'm pastor and teacher Curtis Omo, and today we continue our study in the book of Proverbs, chapter 29, verse 1. Well, this particular lesson also has a issue for parents. Parents, listen. This is a parental warning because of verse 3. You may want to skip over that particular verse or be ready to explain it to your children. I don't go into any detail, of course, but it's something that you might want to be aware of in verse 3. So, with that said, let's prepare ourselves for a study of the Proverbs by making sure we've confessed our known sins at the same time to allow ourselves to be controlled by the Holy Spirit. Let's pray. Our most gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you again for this opportunity and freedom and everything you have provided so we can study your word. We ask that our hearts and minds be open and ready to hear it. In Jesus' name, amen. Verse 1, we learn about the stiff-necked person. One who is frequently rebuked and stiffens his neck, he will suddenly be broken without healing. Well, let's talk about some of these words. Someone who's rebuked is being corrected, okay? That means he is violating some of the teachings of the law. Remember, they lived under the Old Covenant law. That would be 9 of the 10 commandments. The commandment on the Sabbath doesn't apply today under the New Covenant, but of course we do not murder, we don't steal, we don't commit adultery, we don't lie, those type of things. Those all hold true today. That's part of the moral law. But this person refuses correction on violating the moral law. And when he does that, it's called stiffening his neck. That's an old expression that basically means they're stubborn. All right? They're not going to change their mind. In fact, they might not even listen. They may do just the opposite. They may decide to deepen their stubbornness. We might say dig in their heels or double down, something like that. But he refuses to be corrected on the divinely, that is, God-established moral order. It's a rejection of authority. It may be a person in authority over him. It could be a parent over a child. It could be a pastor over someone in the congregation, or anyone who has the ability to rebuke somebody. It can be your friend. What happens if he refuses and continues to stiffen his neck? He will suddenly be broken without healing. Now, let's understand, stiffening the neck usually happens over a period of time. You do it over and over and over, and finally your neck is so stiff you cannot make a good decision about changing your mind. You're so messed up. The penalty is pretty strong. It says he will suddenly be broken. That word means destroyed. He's destroyed. It's used for men in Isaiah 8:15 and 28:13. And notice, without healing, that means he can't be fixed. He can't be cured. So, you don't want to stiffen your neck to God's rules for the moral order. This tells us there's no recovery. There's nothing left but to destroy them. Now, 29:2 is one we've seen before. The more righteous the rulers, the better things are for the people. But when the wicked rule, people are unhappy. Verse 2. When the righteous increase, the people rejoice. But when the wicked rule, the people groan. The righteous here are rulers. And when you have a lot of good rulers, things can be quite good for the people. You may have good, in the United States, we have congressmen. If you have good congressmen, good statesmen, that is, men who also run the state in your county and your city, good mayors, and things can go well for you. Okay? People are happy. But when the wicked rule, just the opposite. The people groan, "Oh no, not again." And they sigh. The word actually means to sigh because of grief. You know, people sigh, "Oh." You know what that's like. Wicked rulers make life miserable. So again, we see whether rulers are righteous or wicked, it greatly affects the people, their happiness, their overall life. So what this does, this contrast what we call a good statesman. Now, a good statesman, he's not a politician. Politicians often will lie to get their offices. They'll take bribes. They'll be motivated to change their mind by lobby groups. If you don't know what that is, you can ask your parents. And they'll take money for themselves. And we call them politicians. It's a political thing. But a good statesman is a good, it could be a president, it can be a senator, a congressman, anybody who rules with honor. And this is contrasted to those who will take bribes, who are basically corrupt. Verse 3 is the one I would warn you parents about, to go ahead and skip over this if you want. Okay, verse 3. It speaks of how a wise son can affect a father. Verse 3 reads, "The man who loves wisdom makes his father glad, but an associate of prostitutes squanders his wealth." A prostitute is a woman who sells herself to a man. Okay, that's as far as I'll go on it. Let's talk about the man who loves wisdom. The man who loves wisdom learns to keep himself away from certain type of people. Okay, particular people like prostitutes and crooks and other corrupt people. He knows who and what to avoid. All right. Now here it could be a grown man. All right. You may have an older uncle who's the brother of your mom or dad, and he can make his father glad. That would be also your grandfather, if you can follow me, by making sure he spends his money well, he associates with the right kind of people. Now, for a younger person, one of these days, if you're a young boy, you'll grow up to be a man, a girl, you'll grow up to be a woman. You make your parents glad when you associate with the right people. The other thing here that's so bad is that a son who associates with prostitutes, he squanders, notice, he squanders his wealth. In other words, he wastes his money. He wastes his money. He destroys his wealth. Maybe his father gave him some money to start a business or go to school. He decides he's going to spend it on women, or he's going to spend it on drugs, something bad. Women aren't bad, don't misunderstand, but he spends it on the wrong kind of women. He associates with the wrong people, and he basically wastes his money. This includes those sons who may be in the family business, and they waste their business's money, you see. A good father will appreciate a son who is wise in who he spends his time with and how he uses his wealth. Verse 4 speaks of a just king. That means a fair king, one who acts righteously. A king gives stability to a land by justice, but one who exacts tribute tears it down. If you live in the United States, your parents are having to deal with some rulers who do not rule by justice. We have them throughout our government. Those are politicians. They don't rule fairly or with justice. There are some that do, but many do not. And the whole government system is very corrupted right now. So this has some good lessons for today. A king or ruler gives stability to a land by justice. That means he provides an atmosphere of trust, of fairness in the court systems. Fairness will be in business because it's enforced. Crime is down because people are doing well, and law enforcement is doing their job. The courts are doing their job. The divine institutions are honored, like free will and marriage and family, community, the nation. In contrast, now look at this, but one who exacts tribute, tears it down. Now, to exact tribute is something that the government does. It may be taxes. It may be regulations. It may be they force you into different types of service. Maybe they say, you've got to go work for the Forest Service. You got to go work for this social group. Usually the military is pretty good, but when the military is corrupt, that's not very good either. So what they do is they take your money or take your property or your land or even you and put you into service. And they have no right to do so. It's unjust. They have the authority, but they violate your rights. And people are unhappy. So, a person who does this, he exacts tributes, he tears it down. He tears what down? He tears the land down. He tears the nation down. We just saw a corrupt son up in verse 3 who associates with prostitutes, squanders the wealth. Now we see a corrupt king. We've already studied kings who take bribes. Remember that? It's common practice in a corrupt government for people to take bribes. It's expected. If you were to get elected today and go to the work for the government, you'd probably be expected to take bribes for certain things. Oh, everyone's doing it, so you can do it. No, it's wrong. And did you know when people start to, when a government starts to force its people to give tribute like this, the government is trying to act in the place of God, to force people to worship that government by making them give them things that's not theirs? Well, a righteous king or ruler needs to rid his administration, that means those who work for him, of these type of corrupt people. Verses 5 and 6 goes together. It talks about deceptive talk. Deceptive talk is a snare. Deceptive speech is a trap for both the victim and the one setting the trap. So let's read verse 5 and 6 together. A man who flatters his neighbor spreads a net for his feet. And the transgression of an evil man is a snare. But a righteous man sings and rejoices. So we'll kind of tie these two together. But let's start with verse 5. Flattery is a form of deception. You know, flattery is when someone comes up and says, oh, you have such a wonderful dress. And you say, no, it's the worst one I got. Or you got such beautiful hair. And you say, oh, no, it's all messed up. I didn't get to wash it. Or something like that. Or you're a young man and someone starts to say how good you are. Maybe you're the best player we've had on the team. And you know that's not true. Hopefully you're smart enough and wise enough to know, well, what's this guy want from me by flattering me? A flattering person is attempting to seduce someone somehow, to get them to fall in his trap so he can get something from them. He wants something out of that person, him or her. And it's described as he spreads a net for his feet. Now, picture a big old net spread out on the ground, and someone's over on the side with a rope tied to it to close the net when the animal steps in the net. Or it's hooked up to some sort of sling, bent over branch or something to catch that animal. Well, he spreads a net for someone's feet when he flatters his neighbor. So he's out to catch his neighbor in a trap. But look what verse 6 says. And the transgression of an evil man is a snare. Now, let me explain this one. It's a little hard to follow. Let me explain first of all. In the transgression of an evil man, this is the man setting the net. Okay? And what it's telling us is that the evil man is a snare. So he's got to be real careful. He's going to get caught up into it himself. So picture out there, someone setting up a net, and he forgot that he had his foot on the edge of it. So when he sets it loose, it flies up in the air, and so does he. So he gets caught in his own snare. That's what this is telling us. So built into his trap for a good man is the fact that he'll get caught into it himself. Okay? What happens with a good man that got loose? Second line. But a righteous man sings and rejoices. You can just hear him out there saying, you messed me, you messed me. That's kind of a tease, but you can understand why he'd be glad he didn't get caught. He saw right through this person trying to trap him with all the flattery. So there's a good lesson there. When someone's trying to flatter you, or they flatter you just to make you feel good, make you sound good or look good, remember, they're in it for something. You've probably seen that many times. Often you'll see a very pretty girl walk around and have 2 or 3 other girls that aren't so pretty. And they want to share the attention that she gets, and they'll say things nice to her to make her feel good, so they can still stay with her. You see, so they want something out of it themselves. It's a silly thing to do, but that happens. Men will do the same thing, especially if it's a rich kid. They'll hang around rich kids. Maybe that rich kid will share something with them, and they flatter them, real nice to them, nicer to them than anybody else, but they want something. It's setting up a trap. So in verse 6, he falls into his own trap, while the righteous man gets away. Righteous people appreciate it. They like it when they see justice done to the wicked. There's nothing wrong with that. Sometimes it'll happen in the courts, in the justice system, or, and it could include the courts, it could be both at the same time, God in his sovereignty, that means God in his own choosing, what he wants to do, he'll punish the evildoer. And when you see that, you're glad. You like to see justice done. Back in the old days, on television, the movies, especially television, they had a code, some sort of moral code, so that the bad guys did not win, and the good guy won. Okay? Today, sometimes it's just the opposite. You have the bad guy, the hero. You have the thief, the hero. You have the murderer, the hero. Just the opposite way, the way it should be. In verse 7, we see justice for the poor. A righteous man knows the court judgments. That bracket, by the way, is to help you interpret it. He knows the court judgments of the poor. A wicked man does not understand such knowledge. Now, this was interesting. There's some extra lessons here. Let's talk about this one. A righteous man is one who understands and knows what to expect from the courts for a poor person. He also may get involved in making sure that the poor is taken care of fairly. In fact, the word knows means that in the Hebrew. He sympathizes with him. He wants to see righteousness done to the poor, just like he would anybody. So he steps in and ensures that the court does a fair job. If he's guilty, fine. If he's not guilty, then he should get set free, you see. So a righteous man would see that justice was done for both the poor and the weak and the needy to the best of his ability. He's watching over the powerless poor to make sure justice is done. He don't want to see him taken advantage of. He wants to see him treated with compassion. Perhaps even plead for mercy on his behalf. Contrary to the righteous man is the wicked man. That's in the second line. A wicked man does not understand such knowledge. Now this is where it's interesting. He doesn't know why anyone would defend someone who's poor and weak. He doesn't get it. You see, his value system is so twisted. He doesn't know what compassion is or care for someone who can't help themselves. So you have, let's say, a elderly woman who can't even walk well or speak well or see well. And you got a greedy neighbor who wants her property. So he may accuse her of something that she didn't do. So he can get her out of the way. So he can scare her. Make her real nervous. So she goes to court with this guy. He takes her to court, and she says something she didn't really mean to say, and he gets her land. Well, see, a righteous man would step in and say, wait a minute, that's not what happened. And you know, in the old days, back in the ancient world, if you couldn't pay things when you're supposed to, say someone gypped you or somehow conned you to getting in debt, they could enslave you. Yeah, they could actually buy you and use you as labor until they felt like you were paid back, or the judge said, well, you get to use him free for 6 months. Wow. Or they might throw you in jail. Now, I'll say this one more time. The wicked man's value system is so twisted that he does not know what true justice is. The righteous man will confront injustice and get involved, while wicked people will promote injustice in a way to his advantage. The righteous man understands the value of a person, his worth before God, and seeks the best for him. The wicked sees the weak and needy as valueless and do not contribute to his wealth. In verse 8, we see that a wise man avoids anger. Scoffers set a city aflame, but the wise turn away from wrath. A scoffer is someone who is a mocker. He makes fun of people, or he will say things that hurt other people. All those are harmful to people. They lie, they cheat, but what they do is they start arguments. All right, that's what it amounts to, and that's what it means when it says sets a city aflame. He's a scorner, if you ever heard of that word before. He's loud, he's often loud, he wants to destroy people with his tongue. We'd say he's got a big mouth. He talks too much. They start rumors, they start riots. They even start wars and revolutions. All kinds of problems for the community, and even bigger, they can start problems for the nation. They're also involved in propaganda. You know the story of Paul, and he was just trying to teach the gospel, and people didn't like what he was saying about the Jews and Gentiles coming together, and it resulted in riots. They started saying things that weren't true about him, that he made statements that weren't right. Same thing happened with our Lord. Near riots were started by what people were saying about him or objected to him. Scoffers set a city aflame, but the wise turn away wrath. The wise person, of course, is what you should be becoming right now by learning wisdom, learning these Proverbs. A wise person is smart enough to know that scoffers and the anger that comes out of it just makes things worse. So you don't get angry back. You don't yell back. You don't scoff back. Even though they're dead wrong, you don't argue with them. You don't get in an angry mood with them with your tongue and slash back like they're slashing at you. Wise people avoid getting angry. Besides that, anger can get you into sin and slander and maligning, different types of sin. One of the things you learn about mockers or scoffers is they ridicule or they make fun of morality, people who want to be moral, who want to do what's fair and right and not lie and not cheat. You've seen those type of people probably many times. They try to get you to do something that's wrong. And what they do, they work against the good of society. But they've learned that their tongues are very effective weapons. They often will go after the leaders, to mock leaders. If they don't like the leader and he's moral, they'll mock him. They'll scoff at him. They attack people who believe well in doing things like working for a living. They'd rather take. They'd rather have people give them stuff. And what's really strange, and this just doesn't make any sense, is that a mocker will seek to destroy, let's say, someone who's making money. Well, if he seeks to destroy, and he actually destroys people making money, how's he going to get any wealth? How's he going to get any money? Because he's not going to work for it. We have an old expression, they kill the goose that lays the golden egg. Think about that one, if you know that fairy tale. The righteous will speak with common reason. The wicked will attempt to shut them down or drown them out with their screaming and interruptions. The wicked prefer riotous behavior and what we would call uncivil behavior, not civil. Civil is when you treat people decent. Uncivil is when you don't treat them decent. Righteous people prefer peace and charity, goodwill towards people. In verse 9, we have some more use of the tongue. The fool's rage. Verse 9 reads, if a wise man has an argument with a fool, the fool only rages and laughs, and there is no quiet. The laughing here would be in scorn. Okay? What this tells us is that a fool will not listen to reason or the truth. That's why he's a fool. If you get an argument with him, which is what the wise man is warned about, it will go nowhere. He'll just go angry, get angry, go off on a tangent, or what we say, he flies off the handle. Fools have already rejected the truth and oppose those who speak it. So don't waste your time with a fool. Once you realize he's not going to listen, just move on. You often see this if you ever watch the news and watch them interview protesters and rioters. They don't want to listen to anybody. They just want to get mad and yell at people. Often mocking people who come up with good ideas and good answers, but they don't want to hear it. And the last line is interesting, and there is no quiet. They can't be quiet. You see, the tongue is their tool. It's their weapon. They got to keep yelling. They got to keep talking. They got to keep corrupting things. Because the more corrupt things are, they think it's going to be better for them. Remember, They're so corrupt. Their value system is so backwards. They can't recognize truth. They can't even see what's best for them. And this is what happens when people get full of sin. Now, this could be a court scene where someone's taken to court. And the wise man comes up and he's trying to argue with someone who's a fool before the judge. And the judge, if he's wise, if he's just, he'll see the foolishness. Okay? And he'll see all the fool can do is yell and scream. He has no reason. He has no facts. Now, what are some good lessons here? Some extra lessons, you might say. If you find yourself in an argument with a fool, know that you may not get anywhere with them. You may and try to manage the conversation. I mean, don't let it get too loud or out of hand, and you may have to walk away. That's true. But don't give them anything to slash at you with or come back at you with. Don't give them any ammo, as they say. Even you being there may be enough for them to get mad and scream if they know you or what you stand for. So there's a lesson here. Learn how to tolerate fools. Don't argue with them, and if you do, don't expect much. And it won't take long for you to realize this person is not interested in the truth. If you end up with court with a fool, hopefully you have a fair judge and jury, and they'll see through him or her. Verse 10 makes this situation worse. Listen to this. This one's almost unbelievable, but it's not. Bloodthirsty men hate one who has integrity and seek the life of the upright. This tells us that these fools, these people who've been going off in a rage, they can get mad enough to murder someone. And that's what this is. A bloodthirsty person is a person who is either guilty of shedding blood or he wants to. Maybe both. He's done it before. He wants it to kill somebody else. He wants to murder. He's ready to take someone's life. Who? One who has integrity, one who's righteous, good, honest people. That would be the Christian who lives the obedient life. And then again, they also seek the life of the upright, those who are living according to God's moral law. They want to destroy them. So there's a lesson here. Now, I know you're young people. Most of you listening are probably young people. But when you become older, there may be people who hate you, that hated you since you were a child. And if the law doesn't catch up with them or keep them restrained, they may seek to murder somebody. So it's clear that the bloodthirsty person is out for blood. They want to destroy each and every person who has integrity, those who live righteous lives. So your life is in danger from these people. And so far, all we've seen is they're not going after Christians, but they're going after people who want to keep the moral order. Christ hasn't come along yet, but still, people can live righteously if they follow God and follow His law under the Old Covenant. But even under the Old Covenant, when they had those laws and festivals and things to follow, these people who didn't want to obey, well, we talked about the commandments. They want to steal when they want. They want to lie when they want. They want to lie in court, commit perjury. They want to take people's land. They oppose what's right and what's decent. They oppose morality. We've seen so much about wicked people already. If you don't remember this, way back in chapter 1, verses 10 through 14, we had these wicked people setting ambushes to take people's money, rob them, and even kill them, murder them. We saw that a flattering man sets up a trap and it backfires. We saw that a while ago. He'll take a poor man to court and see if he can get injustice, get things in his favor. He might start a city on fire with rumor and scoffing. And he gets angry, and he gets angry, and he goes into a rage. He laughs and mocks, and now we see he will murder. Now, as a young person, remember this well. If there's no restraint, if there's no way to hold some of these wild, wicked people back, and you are righteous and they don't like righteous people, you better watch out for yourself. Your life may be in danger. Now, I wouldn't expect that, but you know teenagers kill teenagers. They murder teenagers. So even young people get in trouble. So this is a warning to watch out for these type of people. That's one of the lessons you should be learning here. You learn all about wicked people and their conduct. What are the indicators of a fool and a wicked person? They flatter, they lie, they cheat, they steal, they have no integrity, and they often use their tongue to attack people, especially good people. Verse 11 talks about self-control versus a raging fool. A fool gives full vent to his spirit, but a wise man quietly holds it back. Let me explain what this means. Full vent means you just basically let everything out. Okay, this is the word spirit. That's the inner you. So you let everything within you out. You give it full vent. That means you give a big blowout of yourself. Kind of a funny way to put it, but basically you just let them have it. All right? There's no restraint on one's emotions or his temper or his feelings. He just lets it all out. A fool does that. That's one reason they get so angry so quickly. They have no control. In contrast, notice, but a wise man quietly holds it back. A wise man knows how to restrain himself, his inner self. He shows self-control when things get really heated, like in an argument. So the foolish man, when he gets in conflict with the wise man, the one of integrity, he'll let it all out. These built-up feelings and emotions and temper, it just flies into a rage. You might say he gives full blast of himself towards the wise. The wise man, on the other hand, he's the opposite. He has self-control. He restrains himself. He remains calm. It says here, he quietly holds it back. Now, what holds means, basically, he calms himself. He stills himself. He keeps himself still. S-T-I-L-L. He stills himself. Now, listen to this proverb. In this psalm. Psalm 89:9 talks about our Lord and what he does with the raging sea. 89:9. You, speaking to the Lord, you rule the raging of the sea when its waves rise. You still them. Same word. He calms them. The power of God over creation. Well, this ends the section on the big conflicts between the wise and the fool. You got the scoffer burning cities with his tongue. The wise man provides calm and peace. When you are wise and you argue with a fool, you should expect ridicule and rage and no quietness. When the wicked continue their evil, unrestrained ways, They can even commit murder of the righteous. The righteous become a target. He wants to do away with them. And then we just close with the fool unleashing all his emotions, venting his anger, while the wise controls himself and is quiet. In verse 12, we go back to the rulers. We've talked about rulers a couple of times. Now it's good to have a wise ruler, a just ruler. Verse 12 reads, "If a ruler listens to the words of falsehood, all his officials become wicked." This is a really simple one, but it's a wise saying. If he listens, he pays attention to, if the ruler pays attention to words of falsehood, that is, lies, deceptive speech, people saying things that aren't true just to make the ruler feel good about himself or think good of the person saying it. The ruler like this is not giving truth enough attention. He hears what he wants to hear. It may be someone flattering him or praising him, or they say things, hey, things are going great down here, when they're not. And if he does not listen to truth, if he won't listen to the facts, he will not make good decisions. Nor does he want to. Or he would have listened to the truth and the facts and acted on them. And what often happens when you have a ruler who listens to the words of falsehood, well, first of all, where they're coming from. They may be from his officials. But here, whether they're coming from the officials or not, the officials, just to stay on his good side or for some other reason, they too will become corrupt. They won't care about truth. They won't care about justice or fairness. They're probably there for themselves. Good old politicians, you might say. They're in it for themselves. They become deceived just like their ruler. And no one will say anything to them because they got so much power. And they're corrupt. Today in the United States, in May of 2024, we have a lot of corrupt leadership throughout government. It's horrible. It makes prices higher, people unhappier. It makes things difficult, harder to live. It's just harder to live. They restrict our freedoms. Certain things we can't do. Certain things you can't do because you don't have as much money anymore, if you think about it. You can't go to the ball game or the movie because, well, your parents are broke. And what this tells us is that when all these rulers and officials get into wickedness, it'll take the nation down. A kingdom, a nation falls down under this type of rulership. Officials will just do the corruption, follow the corrupt path that their ruler does, and the kingdom goes down and the people suffer. Well, we'll end on verse 13, and it's an interesting one. Kind of a change of a pace, you might say, change of pace. Talks about life is from God. The poor and the man of oppressions meet together. The Lord gives light to the eyes of both. All right, so here's the scene. The poor is one who's weak, who's in want, who lacks things. And you have a man of oppressions. This is a person who may be the one who's oppressing the poor and making him need things and won't help him, or is what they call a con man. He tricks him into losing his money. Oppressions, that is a type of person who also uses violence. He's a tyrant. He takes advantage of the poor and the weak. We call that exploitation. Well, here it just says in the first line that they meet together. They come together. They may be in confrontation. They just happen to meet on the street, but they're opposed to each other, okay, some way. Here's what this says. Wherever it may be, they come together. They have something in common. And that's in the second line. The Lord gives light to the eyes of both. Giving light to the eyes is a saying that means God gives them life. That's symbolized by light in a person's eyes. All people receive life from God. And what this is pointing out to us is, whichever side you're on, whether you're poor or you're an oppressor, God is the one who gave you life. Listen to Job 33:29 and 30. I'll put it on the board. Behold, God does all these things twice, 3 times with a man to bring back his soul from the pit. In other words, to rescue him from death, that he might be lighted with the light of life. There's the idea of life coming back into one's life, showing up in his eyes, the light of life. So, the lesson, whether one is poor and maybe even oppressed, or one is a wicked, oppressive person, God gives physical life to both. Both ends of the what we call the social extreme should respect the dignity of the other person, because God gave both of them life. They have value. God gave them life. They are a creature of God. Let me explain a term to you, if you don't know this already. You've heard the word grace many times. That's undeserved blessing, undeserved favor. You didn't work for it. You didn't buy it, okay? You didn't earn it. But there's a 2-word phrase that we use called common grace. Common grace is what everybody gets. You get life. You have a planet that'll hold you here because of gravity, right? You get to experience the weather like everyone else. God will provide you food, clothing, a shelter. That's common grace. Now, if you don't have those, you're either being tested or you're being punished. But normally, everyone has basic needs to live. Basic needs, some more, some less. That's common grace. So he provides the wind and the rain and the sunshine, the physical laws that we have to live by, to everyone. It's common grace. So what we learn here is that neither of these types of people should despise each other. They both have value and purpose. So the poor should not resent the oppressor. He may not like it, nor the oppressor resent the poor, but he often does. That's why he oppresses him. Because God gave life equally to both. They have the same Creator God. And they both, by the way, have equal opportunity to respond to His grace. And we pray that they will respond to the gospel of Christ, the great act of grace given by God when He gave His Son to die on their behalf. Well, that ends our lesson. Let's pray. Oh, Father, we do thank you for your wonderful word today and the blessings you've given us. Challenge us with so many wonderful, wise words that we've heard so we can apply them in our lives. both the warnings and the applications of learning to be not just wise, but the things like being righteous and just, and learn about the wicked people so we can be careful around them and know what to expect. Thank you for these truths. In Jesus' name, amen.